Hello there, and welcome to day 92 of the 100 Days Python Programming Challenge. There are 8 more days to go, and today let's solve more questions. So, yesterday we solved 3 questions, today we will solve additionally 3 questions, and it's day 92 of the 100 Days Python Programming Challenge. Hi there, and welcome to day 92. I believe this will be like the final practice questions that we'll be solving because 8 more days and this is over. I feel sad. Okay, the first question. Write a function that flattens a nested list into a single list. So imagine that this is our nested list, and what we want to get is this. So we have list inside a list, and we want to get it flattened like this. So how would you approach this problem? First thing is that we have to define our function. We use a function, and then we'll first have a list where we would store our final result. So this is our function, and then let me have my flat list. This would be the list that would hold the final result. So we have flat list, and then I want to now loop through each item in our nested list. I want to loop through them. And then if I want to check if the current item is in the list, and then if it is in the list, I want to call the function to flatten it. And if it is not in the list, I want to directly add it into a list. So first, let's call our function our for loop that will loop through our nested list. So this will loop through our nested list, and then I will use the is instance to check if the current item is a list. I want to check, is it a list? If it's not a list, then my else condition will then come into place. So it's checking through this. Each item in the nested list. Is this a list? No. Is this a list? Yes. Is this a list? Yes. So that's what it's trying to do, checking if the current item is a list. I'm using the is instance. Each instance of the item, is it a list? That is what we're trying to find out. And then if it is a list, then I would call the flatten list to flatten it. So what this does is that it does it recursively. So imagine now we check through our list. We then find our list within our list inside the list. We then go through that process again to check the item inside the list that we found inside that list. So we keep doing this over and over again. And then we add the result to our flat list that we called here by using the extend method. But then if we go iterate through it and we just find something that is not a list, we will just append it directly to our flat list. So do you get that? That if we're checking through our nested list, we find a list inside it, we then have to check through it again until we don't have a list inside a list. That's how we're flattening it. So let's have our else condition. So else, we then have our flat list dot append, and then what do we now want to do? We want to return our flat list. So our flat, this will keep doing it over. Imagine you have like 1,000 lists inside a list and different lists like that. So to keep doing this over and over and over and over again till it has fetched every single item in every single list. That's what we'll do. And then let's have our example usage. We already have our nested, and then let's call the flattened list on our nested. So this is our nested, which is the exact same list we have above. And then I'm calling the flattened list on nested. You see that we also call the flattened list inside the list because we found another list inside our list. And then when I run it, we get our completely flattened list. So this is a recursive function, a recursive problem, because we had to call the function several times in order to flatten every item in the list. So the next question is that we want to count the number of vowels. And what are vowels? We have the A, E, I, O, U in a given string. So we'll have dev, and we have count vowels because that's what I want to do. And we're using a function because the question said use write a function. And then we have to now define what our vowel is. Our vowels are A, I, O, U, so I'll put that in a string. And then what I want to do is now to check in any string that I'll be given. I want to check if this character, if any of this character is there. And then I want to now print the number of vowels that I have in the string. So I'll return the sum, and then I will go through the character in S. I don't put my argument here in S. And then if the character is in my vowels, I want to return the total sum. I can do all that in my return function. Again, remember we're trying to write simple, easy, short code, easy to understand, easy to explain, and so on and so forth. So I have my return, and then my return is calculating the sum. And then we have one for character. We're converting our S, our string, to a lowercase, and then if that character is in vowel, we're then summing it up. So now let's print out our result. But first, what string are we searching through? What string are we checking? So I have string, and the string can literally be anything that you so please. So just let me copy the string for example and then put it here. And then I have to call my count vowel function on my string. So I'd have count vowel on string and then print the number of vowels. And when I run it, you see we get 8. And if you count it, we have 0, I, U, 0, I, E, U, O. You see that we have 8 vowels in our string. So then the final question is now we want to count the word frequency. That takes a string and then a word that counts how many times the word appears in the string. So for example, we want to take for example Python, and you say word, we want to count the number of times that Python appears here. And you see we have Python is fun, we have Python is powerful. So Python appears twice. So we want to have a function that will count the number of times this text appears in this word appears in our entire sentence. So let's have our function. We would have two arguments in the function because we have our text, and then we would have our word that we want to check in. So count word frequency. So we have our count word frequency function, and we have the text and word. So the text is a string representing the sentence or paragraph in which the count of the occurrence that you want to count the occurrence of the word. So word is then the word whose frequency needs to be counted in the text. So this text is our entire sentence, while word is then Python that we want to search there. So the first thing that we want to do is to convert our text to a lowercase, and we also want to split it. We want to split it to individual string. So we would have, here they are together, and when we split them, we would have Python as a separate string, we'll have is as a separate string, and we'll have fun as a separate string. So that's what we want to do now. We want to split them into words and also convert them into lowercase for case. And we do that by doing the text.lower and dot split. To learn about how to undo strings, there's a video on strings, so you know how to use the lower, the split, and so many other functions. So this will convert to lower and also convert it to and would also split it. We also want to do the same thing for our word that we're searching in. I also want to convert that to a lowercase. So I'll have word is equals to word dot lower. So you can see that this word is plural, so it means like the entire thing. Why this is singular, because that's what we want to search in it. So then the next thing I want to do is now to return the occurrence of word. So I want to count how many times it appears in my list. So in everything, it's going to check, does this occur or does it not occur? So I would have my return, and then my return will count word in words. And then let's have our what our word is and what our text is. So our sentence is Python is fun, Python is powerful. I would have that there. And then I would then call my function. I'll call my function on sentence and target word. And then I will now print out that, oh, the word Python occurs this many times in my sentence. And when I run this, we should see that the word Python appears 2 times in my sentence. So this is how we're able to do it. Come back to lowercase and split, and then we just return words.count and we call our function on our result. That is it for this video. Do not forget to subscribe, to like, and leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, the link to the Jupyter notebook is in the description. See you tomorrow.